Guys, I just saw an interview with Bob Arum and I was absolutely staggered with what I saw and what he was saying. He basically said that Manny Pacquiao was favourite to fight, Terence Crawford was favourite to fight Manny Pacquiao, and they were in deep negotiations. But the fight, they had all the money in Abu Dhabi sorted, and the fight looked like it was going to happen. Because of the pandemic, they didn't feel it made sense. They pulled out. Then Bob Arum said that it didn't make financial sense for him because Pacquiao's very expensive. Like, I can imagine Terence Crawford listening to that, like, thinking, what the hell? Just imagine, right? Just imagine Terence Crawford listening to that, thinking that you had the Pacquiao fight, but it didn't make sense. Now, I understand where Bob Arum's coming from. I understand that Bob Arum's got a business to run, and they're not in the, like, as Bob Arum said, they're not in the business of losing crazy money. Understand business. But surely it's a promoter's job to promote a fighter so he becomes an asset and becomes a fighter like Terence Crawford, who's one of the best out there, becomes a lucrative fighter for his business. And unfortunately, it's not been like that with Terence Crawford. Now, I do feel that Terence Crawford has some part of the blame, because I feel like as a fighter in today's time, you've got to promote yourself. You've got to get your name out there. You've got to build your profile. And maybe Crawford's failed to do that. But at the end of the day, his job is to fight, and a promoter's job is to promote. And Crawford's been doing that. He's been fighting well. He's been looking good. You know, a lot of people are not happy with the resume. They're not happy with the guys that he's fought. But this was an opportunity for Bob Arum to get him the Pacquiao fight. And unfortunately, and basically, I think that's the problem. That is quite clear. That's the problem, because Bob Arum, I think he took the risk when he fought Amir Khan. The pay-per-view didn't do great. And after that, I think Bob Arum just thought, you know what, I'm not gonna, you know, lose money, any more money on him. I'm not gonna spend crazy money, because he paid Khan $5 million in that fight. He paid, what, Crawford got 5.5. There's no way they recuperated over 10.5 million from that show, from the pay-per-view. So if they did 150,000 pay-per-view buys, they probably weren't able to recuperate. Even if it was at 50 quid, they wouldn't have been able to recuperate the money for that show, and it probably made a huge loss. And Bob Arum after that probably thought, there's no way I'm spending crazy money on this guy, losing money, because it doesn't make business sense. You know, it doesn't make business sense to just keep throwing money out there. But this was one fight where there was an opportunity to make profit. Now, Bob Arum said that with the people that he's got in his business, with the people that, you know, make projections for him, the projections showed that this fight would make a massive loss for them. And he just said that we weren't willing to take that hit. We weren't willing to take that loss. He goes, maybe PBC maybe feel they can get this to work. He goes, maybe they feel that they can put something together that will make financial sense for them. Or maybe it's about, you know, even though it may not make a huge profit, because as Bob Arum stated, Pacquiao is very expensive. It's more down to the fact that they feel that Spence will become a superstar after the back of beating Manny Pacquiao, and then they'll have an asset that will make them a lot of money in the future. So maybe maybe PBC and Al Heyman are looking more long term, whereas as Bob Arum probably looked at someone like Manny Pacquiao, someone like Terence Crawford, and thought, he's going to leave me anyway. Why should I take a huge loss for somebody that's potentially going to leave me after this fight? Because Terence Crawford hasn't, as clearly, you know, it's clearly there's rumors that he's going to leave Bob Arum. So why would Bob Arum, you know, take a massive loss by getting him a Pacquiao fight? And if he was to win against Pacquiao, he'll result in a huge profile boost, get paid a lot of money fighting Pacquiao, but then he'll just leave. So Bob Arum won't get, Crawford's not an asset for him because he'd leave. You know, Bob Arum's not going to get anything out of Terence Crawford moving forward as a result of beating someone like Manny Pacquiao. If he is able to beat him, he won't get any, you know, he'll feel like he just built him up, got him the big fight, got his name out there, and then he leaves him. So I can understand why Bob Arum doesn't want to spend money on a huge money, because Pacquiao's expensive, as he said. Pacquiao's very expensive. So if he goes out and spends a load of money and make a loss, and then Crawford ends up leaving anyway, then Bob Arum's the one that's going to lose out. He's just, at the end of the day, Bob Arum's right. He's in business to make money, not to lose huge money. And especially on a fighter who's not there with him long term anymore. He's not, Crawford's made it clear, his team's made it clear, it seems like he's going to leave. So why would you take a loss for a fighter that's going to leave you anyway? It'd be crazy business, because what has anyone got to gain? What has Bob Arum got to gain if Terence Crawford's going to leave by getting him the Pacquiao fight? Makes no sense. Now, he did say that Terence Crawford, he's got something planned for October. But the fact is, if that's the case, any big fighter, any fighter with ambition, or that's a big fighter, or that's a big name fighter, with the way Bob Arum, the thing that, but obviously Pacquiao's very expensive. Pacquiao's on another level to all these other fighters and what he's earning. So it's a completely different financial makeup when you're talking about Pacquiao, because we're talking about serious money. You know, with what Pacquiao would ask for, because of, you know, he's a legend, you know, and he's obviously made a lot of money in his career. So, you know, he's not going to come on the cheap. It's going to be very expensive for no matter who he fights. Whereas someone else isn't going to have the same kind of demand. But even if you think about Taylor, for example, maybe he made his demand for a Crawford fight, it may make sense for October. Maybe that's a fight financially that Bob Arum could make quite easily. But then I think about it, Josh Taylor now is an undisputed champion at 140 pounds. He's potentially Bob Arum's, you know, future cash cow. You know, he's an undisputed champion. Bob Arum's got something there. He's got a valuable fighter there that could potentially make him some money down the line. Why would you make him fight Terence Crawford in a fight where he'd be a huge underdog in? If he loses, you're basically losing an asset, losing a fighter that's going to potentially make you money. When there's another fighter, like, fair enough if they were both with you and they both had long-term contracts with you and they both were going to be with you for a very long time, it makes sense. I don't know, maybe Bob Arum will make the fight, because maybe he thinks that Josh Taylor doesn't have that kind of financial mileage that I'm talking about. I don't know, only he knows that. But I personally think that Terence Crawford, with what Bob Arum said there, he's not going to be able to get on any big fight under Bob Arum. Because there's obviously, over the previous months, I think we can clearly see that there's been a breakdown in relationship. Bob Arum's obviously said things about Crawford in the media, which I'm pretty sure he listens to and probably doesn't like, you know, like, you know, he can't sell, I'm losing money on, like, all of these things, you know, clearly shows that, you know, the relationship has broke down. And there were rumors of Josecito. Now, Bob Arum said no, that he's not making a Josecito Lopez fight for Terence Crawford. But then when you think about it, we know that Porter and Thurman are in negotiation, right, for a fight. Who's Terence Crawford going to fight? That's going to be any worthwhile or going to be a step up from what he's been? Because the only logical fights out there for him is like a Danny Garcia, a Keith Thurman. Like, I do think a Danny Garcia fight makes sense. It just depends on what Garcia wants to do. Danny Garcia, I do think that fight makes a lot of sense because Garcia's got 3 losses. It would be an opportunity for Danny Garcia to get back up there, win a world title. So let's see, that could be a potential fight. But again, Danny Garcia is a guy that's earned a lot of money in his career. He's not going to come on the cheap. Danny Garcia is somebody that's going to want good money. And I remember Danny Garcia saying that oh, Amir Khan got 5 million and I beat Amir Khan. So these guys offered me less than what they offered him. Business doesn't always work like that because I think obviously Amir Khan's name probably holds more weight than someone like Danny Garcia, even though Garcia beat him. From a profile point of view, Khan's a bigger name. Whether that name at that time, maybe it was at that particular time when Khan fought Crawford, maybe it was a bit overestimated, his name at that point. Maybe he wasn't quite as big as what he was 7-8 years prior. And that's why the pay-per-view numbers weren't great. Now, I did a live stream and I actually spoke to Marlo, you know, who's a Spence fan. And he actually said that he feels, and I've said this myself, that he actually said that the reason why the pay-per-view numbers did 150,000 wasn't even to do with Terence Crawford. That was probably Amir Khan. So, and I actually agree with him. I actually think, because if that was the case, then when he fought Victor Postal, why did the numbers do 70,000? Almost half. And I remember once a Crawford fan attacked me on social media saying, oh, you know, Amir Khan didn't do those numbers, this, that. But then if that's the case, then how come Crawford's only been on pay-per-view twice and his highest numbers came against the guy that's got the biggest profile? The reason why the Amir Khan fight was on pay-per-view is because of Amir Khan's profile. Not because of Crawford's profile, because if it was for Crawford's profile, then all of his fights would be on pay-per-view. His shows wouldn't be losing money. So, again, I just feel like Crawford, very good fighter, rate him very highly. Unfortunately, I feel like he isn't as big a star as he should be, and that's affected him getting the big fights. It's affected him getting the big fights. And also, even if he does leave Top Rank, right? Errol Spence is now going to look at his resume. Look at the names that he's fought. He's been involved in big fights. He's now going to be involved in a mega fight against Pacquiao. It's hard to see that, you know, Crawford getting a 50-50 split against Errol Spence. And it's hard for Errol Spence. It's hard for me to see that Errol Spence is going to be willing to accept to a 50-50 split. No way. No way. So, and it's hard for me to see Terence Crawford willing to accept anything less than 50-50. So I don't see that fight happening, even if he goes over to the other side, as Timothy Bradley mentioned. Even if he goes over to PBC, I just don't know how they're going to make that fight, and it's sad. It's sad, and I think we've probably got the best fight that can be made in the welterweight division in Pacquiao-Spence. Because I don't think Crawford-Spence is going to happen. I just don't see it, if I'm honest with you. Maybe you guys may think otherwise, but I don't think I see it. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you make of Bob Arum saying that the Terence Crawford fight was there, but it just didn't make sense? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.